My wife, Victoria Sterling, is a newly crowned A-list actress. Everyone knows she loves me to death, insisting on holding my hand wherever we go. No matter how busy she is with filming, she'll catch a red-eye flight just to have breakfast with me before heading back. I was near her film set for an interview assignment, so I thought I'd stop by to say hello. I didn't expect to overhear her assistant gossiping in a low voice before I even walked in. It's been a nightmare. Vicky spent all night with Ethan Hunt at the hotel, and I had to get up in the middle of the night to deal with their noise complaints.
Wow, that manager Ethan really has some stamina, huh? Like 10 times in one night?
I cleared my throat, interrupting their conversation as I walked over. The assistant, Lucy, greeted me with an awkward expression. "Sincere, you came all this way to visit the set? I'm here to close a deal on a major scoop about an A-lister's affair. I'm meeting my team here, so I thought I'd stop by and see Victoria." "Ooh, another juicy story. I wonder if it's a good one." I nodded with a slight smile. "Of course, the story is good. It's about your boss." Chapter 1. Lucy led me toward the dressing room. As we reached the door, I suddenly stopped. I could hear faint, ambiguous moans coming from inside. Lucy gave me an embarrassed smile. "They're probably just running lines. Let me go tell Vicky you're here." "Just a moment, Sincere." A minute later, a fully dressed Victoria Sterling opened the door and threw herself into my arms. "Honey, what are you doing here? Is this a surprise for me?" I lifted my head and my eyes met those of Ethan Hunt, who was emerging from behind her. He had a smug smile on his face and was in the middle of zipping up his pants. "Victoria, I came to give you a surprise, but you gave me a shock." I pushed her away, taking an imperceptible step back. The cloying, post-coital scent clinging to her was utterly nauseating. Ethan turned back to grab a jacket and draped it over Victoria's shoulders, his hands lingering to squeeze her arms. "My star, you've only got 5 minutes. You have to be on set for the walk-through soon." He shot me a contemptuous glance before walking away. I followed Victoria into the room. She smiled and showed me her phone. "Honey, Paparazzo sent me a message. He said he's about to break a huge story about an A-lister's affair. He says it's explosive. I'll forward you his contact. You guys should connect. I own a cultural media company, and I wasn't originally interested in celebrity gossip. But after Victoria became famous, she said she knew a lot of paparazzi and could get me big scoops, which would be far more profitable than my standard media work. So I opened a department specifically for her. And this tip she was talking about was the first piece of business she had ever brought me. I smiled and nodded. "Okay, you talk to him first. You're in the industry, so he won't try to fool you with fake news. I'll get involved once there's enough evidence." She rubbed her hands together and gave me a nod, then planted an excited kiss on my cheek. Looking at her, a wave of bitterness washed over me. She was nearly 30 but still had the personality of a child. Perhaps I had spoiled her too much over the years. I wondered if she'd still be this excited, and curious if she knew the paparazzo who contacted her was my burner account. That night, I checked into her hotel but got a separate room. Unexpectedly, she came knocking on my door in the middle of the night. The moment I let her in, she dropped her bathrobe, revealing a semi-sheer slip underneath. "Honey, you must have missed me so much," she pounced, pushing me down onto the bed. The heavy cloud of her perfume made me want to gag. I immediately put a hand up to stop her. "I have to prep an interview draft tonight. The deadline is tight." She sat up sullenly, a bit embarrassed. "Then I'll just sit here and keep you company while you write. I promise I won't disturb you." Just then, my doorbell rang. She got up to open it. It was Ethan Hunt. "What are you doing here?" "Babe, I just had to see you one more time before bed. Otherwise, I'll be all alone in my room, unable to sleep." I tactfully got up and went into the bathroom, peeking through the crack in the door. Victoria glanced quickly in my direction, then initiated a passionate kiss with Ethan. They were locked in a deep embrace, and Ethan's hand was already sliding up her slip. After a moment, I deliberately made a loud noise before coming out of the bathroom. They broke apart instantly. Victoria, her face flushed, explained, "Honey, Ethan said the director needs to talk to me about something. I won't disturb you anymore." With that, she quickly vanished from my sight. I calmly picked up my phone, switched to my burner account, and sent her a message. The A-lister and her lover were kissing right in front of her husband. Got photos and video. It took a long time for her to reply. Send them. Let me see. I typed back with a cold smile. Name your price, then I'll show you. Chapter 2. I left early for work the next day and didn't return to the hotel until the afternoon. Victoria suddenly came to find me, brimming with excitement. Honey, I'm done with filming for the day. Let's go visit our alma mater this afternoon. We haven't been back since graduation, and it's such a rare chance for us both to be in the same city. I put down my laptop. Seeing her radiant smile, I couldn't bring myself to refuse. I remembered the first day of college, how our eyes met, and it was love at first sight. I had treasured her like a gem, spoiling her like my little princess ever since. The little chili dog stand we loved just outside the campus gate was still there. Boss, extra hot sauce, my husband loves it, she said. She personally fed me a bite. I took one mouthful and was seized by a coughing fit. I coughed until tears streamed down my face. Something I once loved so much now felt impossible to swallow, so bitter it made me frown. We then went to the cherry blossom grove on campus. It was the peak of the season, and petals carpeted the ground. This was where we first held hands, first hugged, first kissed. Our names were still carved into one of the trees. Sincere Morgan loves Victoria Sterling forever. Victoria Sterling belongs to Sincere Morgan for life. After years of wind and rain, the marks were still there but faded and blurred. Honey, let's carve new ones, she suggested. I shook my head. No, let's not damage the trees. The past is gone. Even if we recarve it, it will never be the same. Better to let it fade away. We wandered around until dark. I suggested we visit the faculty building to see her favorite professor, the mentor who had been instrumental in her success at the talent show. Her eyes lit up. Oh yes, we talk on the phone all the time, but can you imagine how surprised she'll be to see us in person? She excitedly grabbed my hand and pulled me forward, but after a few steps, her phone began ringing insistently, like a summons from death itself. Her expression changed. She let go of my hand, walked a few steps away, and answered quietly. I'm with my husband. What do you want? Babe, I miss you so much. I haven't seen you all afternoon. I feel awful. Are you drinking? It's so early. How are you this drunk? Babe, you forgot what I'm like after I've been drinking, right? Even better. If you don't come back, I might have to find someone else to blow off some steam with. I stood there quietly, watching her walk back towards me with an apologetic look. Sorry, honey. Let's go another time. The director needs me for something. I have to go back. I said nothing, just turned and led her away. I wasn't sad, just disappointed. I had wanted to revisit the path we had walked together one last time before it all ended. But it seemed even that final chapter could not be written. In the car, I received a message from Ethan Hunt. He sent a disgusting, explicit photo of his crotch. How's that? Feeling a little inadequate? I got these pearl implants just for her. Can you imagine her screams later? The thought of that sound is just music to my ears. She ditched me to be with you today, so she's getting punished. Wanna see? My hand holding the phone started to tremble with rage. Victoria noticed my strange behavior and immediately asked, "Are you okay?" "Don't speak," I blurted out instinctively. Her voice instantly conjured the images Ethan had described, and I was filled with the urge to tear him to pieces. Chapter 3. Sure enough, that night, Ethan Hunt actually placed his phone by the bed and gave me a live-streamed performance. I didn't watch the whole thing. I just silently activated the screen recording function, then pulled the covers over my head and went to sleep. The next day, my flight back was scheduled for the evening. During the day, Victoria invited me to the set to watch her act. She also took the opportunity to put on another show of our loving relationship for everyone to see. There was a kissing scene today, where the male lead was supposed to forcibly kiss her. I sat calmly on the sidelines watching. Ethan Hunt was sitting right next to me. My phone suddenly buzzed with a message from him. "I told you she'd be punished for yesterday. Watch this." I turned to look at him and saw him smiling as he held up a small remote control and waggled it at me. My stomach clenched. We were all adults. I knew exactly what that thing was. On set, the scene progressed to the point where the male lead pushed Victoria against a wall and kissed her hard. At the same instant, Ethan slammed his thumb down on the button of the remote. I saw Victoria let out a sharp cry, her legs instantly clamping together as she shot a glare at Ethan. The male lead, surprised, asked, "What's wrong? I haven't even touched you yet." Victoria was already past the point of answering him. She just shut her eyes, bit her lip hard, her face flushing a deep crimson. Ethan gave me a victorious look, then stood up and walked over to her. "Sorry, Director. Victoria might be feeling a bit unwell. I'm going to take her for a break." And just like that, he scooped her up in a bridal carry and walked away, right under my nose. Everyone on set turned to look at me, their eyes filled with pity. I let out a self-deprecating laugh. You'd have to be blind not to see what was going on between those two, yet she still thought she was hiding it so well. I got up and started walking in their direction. A few steps later, I got a call from Ethan Hunt. His voice was on the other end, but he wasn't talking to me. "Babe, you like being kissed forcefully, huh? Is this enough for you? Ah, you're awful. My husband is still here. How dare you if he finds out? I'll have you replaced immediately. Don't play hard to get. I know you love the thrill. That last jolt felt good, didn't it? Bet you want to just rip your pants off and have me fuck you right now, don't you? Ethan Hunt, you—" Her words were cut off by Ethan, followed by an endless stream of suppressed moans. I hung up and went straight back to the hotel. I took out my phone, switched to my burner account, and sent a message to Victoria. "I have the video of you two in bed and the audio recording from the dressing room. 80 million. Let me know when you've decided." I didn't get a reply until that evening, just before I boarded my flight. "The price is too high. Is there any room for negotiation?" 80 million was her entire net worth. I knew she wouldn't agree, but my tone remained firm. "No negotiation. If this leaks, it will destroy both of your careers. If you two bought this information to sell, you could get double this amount." A few minutes passed before she replied, "Fine. I need to see the material first." I smiled and started typing, "Don't worry. I guarantee you'll see it when you get home in a few days after you finish filming." After sending that last message, I decisively turned off my phone. I got home around 2 in the morning. A call from Victoria came through. "Honey, I'm so sorry. Today was just so busy I didn't even get to see you off. Are you home safe?" As she was speaking, Ethan's voice suddenly came through from her end. "Babe, this lingerie is so sexy. Hurry up and put it on for me." The line went dead. A minute later, she called back. "Honey, my assistant was watching TV in the room. It was too loud. I sent her out." I looked at the photo on my phone of the two of them wearing erotic lingerie and replied flatly, "Get some rest." Then I hung up. 3 days later, I had packed up everything in the house that belonged to her and stacked it in a corner. The enormous wedding portrait on the wall had been cut into shreds and placed in a box. On the table, I left a USB drive and a set of divorce papers. After finishing all this, I left the house. Hiding in my car, I watched her car pull into the neighborhood, and then I silently turned on the home security cameras. On the monitor, I saw her insert the USB drive into her computer with trembling hands, followed by a wild, desperate scream. She knocked over and destroyed all the boxes of her things that I had so neatly packed for her. A moment later, my phone rang. "Sincere Morgan, where are you sitting in my car?" I lit a cigarette. "Victoria, you said you'd pay after you saw the goods, didn't you? So what do you think? Is that material worth your entire fortune?" "What do you mean? You're the one who was sending me those messages? You're despicable." I let out a cold laugh. "When it comes to being despicable, I think you and Ethan Hunt are in a league of your own. In your dreams, I can sue you for extortion," I replied calmly. "If I sue for divorce, your adultery during the marriage means you'll leave with nothing anyway. But you should think carefully. In that case, you won't just lose your fortune, you'll lose your future. I'm giving you 3 days. Sign the divorce papers and move out of my house. My lawyer will contact you about the rest." With that, I hung up the phone without a shred of mercy. I then blocked her on all platforms. Because she had just won a major acting award, the media and her fans were paying close attention to her. The moment I unfollowed her on social media, the topic shot to the top of the trending list. Victoria Sterling's perfect marriage crumbles. Husband unfollows. Divorce suspected. The haters who had been waiting for this moment finally had their chance to strike. They flooded the comments section with proof, claiming her entire persona was fake. Some even said I was just an actor she hired to play the role of a doting husband. The story fermented all day until that evening, when she could no longer stay silent and finally responded. First, her studio issued a statement denying the rumors. Then, she posted a video on her own social media account. In the video, she was sitting on a sofa with a man in a mask. They lovingly held up their hands to the camera, showing off their wedding rings. Victoria spoke with a smile. "I'm so sorry for taking up public resources with such a small matter. My husband unfollowed me by accident, and I've already scolded him for it. My husband hates being on camera, but today, after seeing all the malicious speculation, he insisted on recording this video with me to clarify things. So, how could a husband who loves me this much possibly want to divorce me? We've been in love since college. Anyone who knows us knows how strong our bond is. Thank you all for your concern. We will continue to live happily ever after." As she spoke, Victoria even planted a kiss on the masked man's cheek. The video ended there, but a fire of rage was building inside me. The masked man was clearly Ethan Hunt, and he was wearing my clothes and the wedding ring I had left at home. Even worse, they had filmed the video in my house. Although the deed to that house was in both of our names, I had paid for everything from the down payment to the mortgage. What right did they have? Chapter 5. I was trembling with anger. I immediately pulled up the live feed from my home security cameras. I watched as the two of them, unable to wait any longer, started rolling around on the sofa. Afterward, they lay naked in the master bedroom. "Ethan Hunt," Victoria said, "if it weren't for what you did, my husband never would have found out. Let's just say a proper goodbye today. Don't contact me again. I'm going to ask the company to assign me a new manager." Ethan immediately pinned her beneath him, one hand caressing her skin. "He treated you like this, and you still want to stay with him?" Victoria closed her eyes, enjoying his touch. "I love him," she said. "I won't give up on him." Ethan sat up, feigning a wounded expression. "Then what about me? What does our time together mean to you? Can't you feel my love for you at all? I sent him those things because I love you so much. I wanted to keep you by my side, to make you mine and mine alone. Victoria, I love you. I can't bear to leave you." As he spoke, 2 lines of tears actually rolled down his cheeks. Victoria quickly pulled him into her arms to comfort him. "I know you love me, but didn't we agree from the start? We would just keep it physical. You know I have very strong desires, and he and I are apart so often. That's why I was with you. No, I don't believe you feel nothing for me. Victoria, get a divorce. Can't we just be together? In this whole world, only I can satisfy your desires. Are you really willing to give me up? But if I agree to the divorce, I'll have nothing left. Don't worry, leave it to me." With that, their eyes met, and the spark of lust ignited between them once more. I saved all the evidence and turned off my phone. Chapter 6. 3 days later, an unknown number called me. When I answered, I heard that familiar voice. "Honey, I know I was wrong. Please, will you come back?" I cut off her apology, my voice cold. "If this isn't about the divorce, please don't contact me again." I was about to hang up, but she stopped me. "Please, don't hang up. I know what I did was unforgivable. Since you've decided on a divorce, can you just let me see you one last time? I'm waiting for you at home." I thought about it and agreed. For the past 3 days, since she couldn't find me, she had started harassing everyone around me. She called my parents overseas, called my friends, and even showed up at my office to wait for me. I didn't want to cause any more trouble for the people in my life. Half an hour later, I was back at the house. I found that all of her things, which I had packed away, were back in their original places. except for the massive wedding portrait. The moment I walked in, she came over crying, took my hand, and led me to the sofa. "Honey, I miss you so much. Please, just give me one more chance." I coldly pulled my hand away. "I'm only here to tell you to stop harassing anyone in my life. We were together for so many years, I'd rather not end this on an ugly note." She ignored my warning and picked up a small box from the coffee table, opening it in front of me. Inside was a stack of tickets. "Do you remember these? After we graduated from college, you traveled all over the country with me for interviews and auditions. These are all our round-trip tickets. Back then, you felt so bad for me, worried I'd get tired on the slow overnight coach trains, so you scrimped and saved to buy me tickets for the express train." Then she took out a stack of photos. In them, we were smiling so happily. When we got married, we didn't have money for a professional wedding photo shoot. You spent $150 to rent a wedding dress and asked a classmate to take these pictures for us with a point-and-shoot camera. Back then, you held my hand and said you would never let go. Do you remember? She picked up every item on the table, one by one, reminiscing. My heart ached and I almost shed a tear. We used to be so happy. She wasn't like this before. I remembered in college a rich suitor was pursuing her, but she wouldn't even give him the time of day. When he became too persistent, she simply kissed me right in front of him without a moment's hesitation. The guy held a grudge and started spreading vicious rumors about her around campus. But she didn't care at all. She told me, "Sincere Morgan, no matter who pursues me in this life, I will always choose you, without a doubt." Now, that vow, which we both thought was as solid as rock, had been so easily shattered. Seeing the change in my expression, she seized the opportunity to continue. "Let's not get a divorce, okay? I swear I'll never do something like that again. I'll never see Ethan Hunt again. Please." I laughed, a self-mocking sound. "You also swore you would only love me for the rest of your life, but you broke that promise, didn't you? So what credibility does your oath have now?" "Honey, I didn't break my promise. I really do love you. In my heart, it's always been you. It was only my body that cheated, but my heart has always been yours." The disgusting images flooded my mind again and my anger flared. I swept everything off the coffee table, sending it crashing to the floor. "Are you even listening to yourself? You make me sick. Get out of my house now." I never expected that she would suddenly drop to her knees and cling to my leg. After all our years together, why can't you forgive me just this once? What do I have to do to make you not divorce me? I forcefully pulled my leg free. "I want you to leave with nothing." Chapter 7. Seeing my resolute attitude, her demeanor suddenly changed. She snarled at me viciously. "You wish I earned all this money through years of hard work. Why should I give it to you if you insist on this? Then don't blame me for taking you down with me." I couldn't be bothered to argue with her anymore and slammed the door on my way out. Once outside, I called my lawyer and told him to prepare the divorce litigation. That evening, my mood was foul. I went alone to a small bar I used to frequent for a drink. Perhaps because of my state of mind, I felt dizzy after just a few glasses. Just then, a scantily clad, beautiful woman walked over and placed a hand on my shoulder.
"Hey, handsome, you look like you've had a bit too much."
"Want me to take you home?" My vision started to blur, and my body felt like it was losing all its strength. She easily helped me up, her arm around my waist, and slowly led me out of the bar. When I opened my eyes again, I was lying naked on a hotel bed, my head splitting. Sunlight peeked through the curtains, jarring my eyes and snapping me to full awareness. I suddenly realized I had been drugged at this critical juncture. The only people who would do something like this were Victoria and Ethan Hunt. I grabbed my phone, about to call and confront them, but I saw countless messages, all from my assistant. "Sincere, you have to see what's trending." I immediately clicked the link he sent. A cold sweat broke out all over me. A list actress's husband's years-long affair exposed. Mistress steps forward after abuse to expose his crimes. There were photos of the strange woman from last night helping me into a car, and photos of us naked together on the hotel bed. The second trending topic was a long post from that woman's account, a diatribe against me. "I am now coming forward to publicly accuse Sincere Morgan, husband of the actress Victoria Sterling, of not only cheating on her, but also of domestic abuse against me. We have been together for 3 years. He would come to me whenever his wife was out of town, sweet-talking me, telling me he loved me. But I never imagined he was into sexual abuse. The rest of her post was even more vile, painting me as the scum of the earth. Soon after, Victoria also posted a video on her social media account. In the video, she put on a tearful performance, perfectly embodying the role of a wronged wife. I'm so sorry. The truth is, when he unfollowed me a few days ago, it was because he wanted a divorce. He even used a burner account, pretending to be a paparazzo, to try and extort 80 million from me. She held her phone up to the camera, showing all the chat logs between my burner account and her. He said he suspected I was cheating with my manager and demanded that I leave the marriage with nothing. Out of respect for our many years together, I kept trying to explain I didn't want to get divorced. But I never imagined that he was the one who was cheating all along. I gave him my whole heart when I was just 18, and to think he would betray me like this. I just can't find any more excuses to forgive him. Here and now I am announcing that I will immediately file for divorce and ensure he leaves with nothing. Goodbye to the man I loved most. At the end of the video, she was sobbing uncontrollably. She instantly garnered the sympathy of all netizens, while I was being vilified beyond recognition. Next, all of my company's social media accounts were attacked. The entrance to my office was splattered with chicken blood and all sorts of filth. Some netizens even doxed my parents, making international calls to curse them out for failing to raise their son properly. Chapter 8. Faced with all this, I could only shake my head in disappointment. I never thought the woman who had professed to love me forever, who had begged me not to leave her, could become so vicious. Having been in the media and PR world for so many years, I knew exactly what Ethan Hunt's goal was with this strategy. Right now, public opinion was completely on their side. If I released the evidence of their affair under these circumstances, absolutely no one would believe me. Even if the court ordered her to leave with nothing, the public would still believe she was the victim. This way, she not only saved her career, but also gained a massive wave of traffic and sympathy. She could earn back that 80 million in no time. It was a brilliant plan. No matter what, they would be the ultimate winners. My reputation would be utterly destroyed. I would lose everything and be forever despised. But they forgot one thing. When it comes to media manipulation and guiding public opinion, I'm the professional. If it hadn't been for my company constantly creating buzz for Victoria, how would she have achieved the fame she has today? I had hoped for a dignified end, but now it was clear that was no longer necessary. So they had better prepare themselves to receive my grand gift. I ignored all the online chatter. I even had my staff hire a troll army to add more fuel to the fire. The controversy reached its absolute peak. A week later, a bombshell story appeared on the trending topics. Stunning reversal in a list actress's husband's cheating scandal in it. The first thing to appear was a video statement from Jessica, the beautiful woman I met at the bar. First, I want to state that I did not know Mr. Morgan before this, and the claims of an affair and abuse are completely false. I want to apologize to Mr. Sincere Morgan. I maliciously slandered him. I have spoken with Mr. Morgan about this matter. He is a genuinely good person and has already provided me with a letter of forgiveness, agreeing not to press charges. I feel incredibly guilty, so I want to tell the whole truth here on Mr. Morgan's behalf. The fact is, I am also a victim. 10 days ago, Victoria Sterling's manager, Ethan Hunt, approached me. He said if I did as he said, he could help me get into the entertainment industry. I was too naive, and I believed him. That night at the bar, it was Ethan Hunt who told me to approach Mr. Morgan and deliberately act intimately so he could take those pictures. The reason Mr. Morgan didn't resist at all was because he had been drugged, and the person who drugged him was also hired by Ethan Hunt. Below are Mr. Morgan's lab results and the security footage of him being drugged. The day I realized I had been drugged, I immediately went to the hospital for tests and preserved the evidence. At the same time, I sent my people to the bar to get the security footage. Using the video, They found the man who administered the drug, an addict who confessed everything, for $500. Also, all the content posted on my social media was not written or sent by me. Ethan Hunt was operating that account. Here are the complete chat logs of him asking for my account details. She then displayed screenshot after screenshot of their chat history for the camera. Mr. Morgan is a truly good person. Even though I made a mistake, he spoke to me respectfully, without a hint of blame. For that, I want to seek justice for him. I solemnly declare that I am willing to take full legal responsibility for everything I have said above. Watching her video, I smiled with satisfaction. I had contacted her just a few days after the incident. At first, she was unwilling to tell the truth. But when I laid out all the PR campaigns and strategies I had used to make Victoria Sterling famous, she was tempted. Ethan Hunt is not going to keep his promise, I told her. Besides, he's about to be kicked out of this industry. If you're willing to tell the truth, I can introduce you to a good entertainment company right now and promise to make you a star. When she seemed skeptical, I showed her the evidence I had of Victoria's affair with Ethan. If this gets out, I asked, do you really think he can survive in this industry? After seeing it, she immediately agreed. Chapter 9. This was only the beginning, but Ethan Hunt was already losing his composure. He actually contacted me himself. In a private room, Ethan Hunt, his eyes bloodshot, demanded, "Sincere Morgan, what do you want?" I smiled and tapped my finger on the table. It's simple. Have Victoria Sterling divorce me immediately and leave with nothing. If she agrees, I can also provide you with a letter of forgiveness and not press charges. And she can claim she was deceived by that woman, Jessica, which is why she thought I was cheating. That way, with a little PR spin, you two can continue to work in this industry. You'll make back the $80 million soon enough. But if you want to keep fighting me, I continued, considering the current tide of public opinion, what do you think will happen when I release the evidence of your affair online? Do you think the public and her sponsors will believe me? Sure enough, the very next day, Victoria Sterling signed the divorce papers and all the money was transferred to my account. When I returned home, there was no trace of her left. Victoria was standing at the door, holding her last piece of luggage, looking at me with pure hatred. Sincere Morgan, I must have been blind to have been with a ruthless man like you for so many years. I sneered. When it comes to being ruthless, I'm no match for you. You were the one in the wrong, yet you stooped to such methods to deal with me. Victoria, you said you loved me, but when I tried to give you a dignified exit and discuss the divorce reasonably, you couldn't part with your $80 million. Now, to get me to issue a letter of forgiveness for Ethan Hunt, you signed away everything without a moment's hesitation. Your love is nothing but a lie to me. She stomped her foot in fury and screamed, "So what if you don't want my love? Someone else does. Ethan Hunt understands me better than you. He loves me more than you, Sincere Morgan. Losing me is your loss. Don't you dare regret it with that." She grabbed her suitcase and disappeared from my sight. I went back into the house, threw out all the bed sheets, and disinfected every surface they had touched with a copious amount of alcohol. After finishing, I settled comfortably into my rocking chair and called my assistant. Release the second wave. Within 5 minutes, the entire social media landscape exploded again. All the videos and audio recordings of Victoria's affair with Ethan Hunt appeared online. Although the explicit parts were censored, their obscene actions were still clearly visible. Soon, various sponsors and brands posted statements on their platforms announcing the termination of their contracts with Victoria Sterling. Even more netizens began posting photos they had secretly taken of the two of them holding hands. The comment section was a torrent of abuse, so disgusting she cheated and then twisted the facts.
Why is someone like her an award-winning actress?
She should be making porn. It would be a bestseller with moves that shameless that night. No one slept. Chapter 10. The next day, Victoria pounded furiously on my front door. The moment I opened it, she lunged to strike me but was firmly restrained by the bodyguard standing behind me. "I knew you'd retaliate, so I came prepared," I said calmly. Struggling in vain, Victoria started screaming insults. You bastard, you said you wouldn't release the evidence after the divorce. You're a liar. Why did you have to ruin me? If you weren't so obsessed with your work and actually spent time with me, would I have had to go sleep with someone else? This is all your fault. I listened quietly as she vented her rage, then spoke in a leisurely tone. You've misunderstood. After all, we were married for so many years. I was just helping you test your new lover's true feelings. Now that your future is completely ruined, and you're facing massive lawsuits for damages, do you think Ethan Hunt will still love you? She replied without hesitation. Of course he loves me the most. He's not despicable like you. Her foolishness made me laugh. What does he love about you? That you're a 30-year-old hag, or that you're a penniless bum? Don't tell me it's your charming personality. I'm not seeing much charm in you right now. You're full of it. You don't understand his feelings for me. Oh, well, you'd better hurry back and see. You wouldn't want him to run off before you can find him. My words made her freeze. Then she shot back at me. I'll prove it to you. He loves me more than you ever did with that. She turned and ran off without a backward glance. At Ethan Hunt's apartment, the first thing Victoria saw as she burst in was him at the door with 2 large suitcases, about to leave. Ethan, what are you doing? You're leaving, right? Where are you taking me? The next second, Ethan slapped her hard across the face. You bitch, why the hell would I take you with me? Victoria clutched her face in disbelief. What do you mean? You said you loved me. Are you just going to abandon me and leave by yourself? You said you couldn't live without me, that we'd live happily for the rest of our lives. Were all those words lies? Ethan Hunt gritted his teeth and kicked her hard in the stomach. If it wasn't for the money, who the fuck would want to serve an old hag like you? I'm young, handsome, and great in bed. I have young girls throwing themselves at me. What the hell are you? If it wasn't for you, would I be in this mess today? You ruined me. I should be praised for my mercy in not killing you. You can deal with your massive debts yourself. Don't you dare drag me into it, you tramp. Still not satisfied, he unleashed a barrage of punches and kicks on her. Only after venting his rage did he pick up his suitcases and head for the door. He didn't expect to be blocked by 4 or 5 large, menacing-looking men. They looked like thugs, and their leader wore a thick gold chain. Before a word was spoken, one of them kicked out, sending Ethan flying 2 meters back. Damn it, you owe me $50 million in gambling debts and you think you can just run? Didn't you say you could get the money from this broad? Where is it? Her career is toast. Where are you going to get the money now? Ethan immediately dropped to his knees, terrified, and begged for mercy. No, it's a misunderstanding, a total misunderstanding. I wasn't trying to run. I was just going out to figure out a way to get the money to pay you back. I swear, trying to play me for a fool? Get him at the command. The 4 or 5 thugs swarmed Ethan, kicking him relentlessly. Within minutes he was a bloody mess, lying motionless on the ground. At that moment the leader, the shark, glanced over at Victoria, still curled up on the floor. He reached down and pinched her face. This broad, she's old but not bad-looking. She'll fetch a good price. Take her, Victoria shrieked in terror, frantically trying to explain. I have nothing to do with Ethan Hunt. If you want money, go to him, not me, please. I'm begging you. But the man ignored her, just spat a vicious threat at Ethan. Whatever we get for the broad will count as 1 month's interest. You have 1 month to pay back the rest. Otherwise, don't blame me for throwing you in the ocean to feed the fish with that. The men dragged the wailing Victoria away, and I stepped out from my hiding spot in the corner. I didn't step forward to stop them. After all, these were the people I had called. Victoria, since you have such strong needs, I hope you enjoy the life that's coming to you. Recently, my wife had frequent nausea, so I took her to my friend's newly opened traditional Western medicine clinic for a checkup. After examining her pulse, my friend told us not to overwork ourselves lately. Afterwards, he arranged to meet me alone and asked if I had changed my mind about being child-free. I told him no, that I hadn't planned on having children, mainly because Vicky had been injured 10 years ago, leaving her unable to conceive for life. For her sake, I voluntarily underwent a vasectomy. The scar is still there today. The moment my friend told me Vicky was pregnant, I felt as if I'd been struck by lightning at first. I thought it was a misdiagnosis. It wasn't until I stumbled upon a sweet family photo of 4 on her social media abroad that I truly realized I had been betrayed. I kept scrolling through my wife's selfies on Twitter. Out of hundreds of photos, nearly half were taken with another man. The account registration date was 7 years ago. By 6 years ago, 2 new members began appearing in the albums. They were a pair of twins, a boy and a girl about 5 years old. Both the boy and the girl looked very much like the man in the photos. The last family photo was 3 months ago. I clearly remembered she had told me she was going abroad for an important project training. Upon her return, she started feeling unwell. To prevent outsiders from judging her, I had been willing to go to the hospital myself for the procedure. But she had 2 children abroad? No, counting the one in her belly, she was the mother of 3? I let out a bitter laugh, feeling like a complete fool who had been led in circles. My wife's Twitter suddenly updated. In the photo, she was gently stroking her belly, smiling very happily. She captioned it with an English phrase, eternal happiness. So, she had known she was pregnant for a while. Rage instantly spread through my chest, and a vein on my forehead pulsed wildly. Picking up my phone, I dialed her number. "Don't you know I'm in a meeting? Can't this wait?" I didn't even get a chance to speak before the call was hung up. In the past, no matter how important the meeting, she would have asked me why I was calling. But that past was 10 years ago. After graduating from university, I turned down an executive offer from a Fortune 500 company. Unhesitatingly, I took Victoria Montgomery's hand and chose to become a live-in son-in-law in the Montgomery family. I stayed by her side as she grew the Montgomery family's initial business worth millions into billions today. Thinking about it now, was it really worth it? I dialed the number again and Victoria Montgomery's impatient voice came through. "Sincere Miller, are you insane? I told you I'm in a meeting where? Sarah didn't say you had a meeting today." Victoria Montgomery was silent for a moment, then replied frostily, "At Dragon Rise headquarters. Any other questions? Please ask them all at once." Before I could finish, the call was cut off again. Looking at the photo of her and me on the screen, I knew this relationship might never go back to how it was. Arriving at Dragon Rise headquarters, I coincidentally saw my wife's Porsche. Besides her, there was a familiar face in the car, the man from the photos. He was immaculately dressed in a suit, looked handsome and sunny, and seemed younger than me. The 2 of them were being affectionate in the car, lingering for quite a while before parting. I hid in a corner, heartbroken, wanting to rush over several times but stopping myself, because I knew doing so would be meaningless. I could only resolve our relationship issues through calm conversation. I pretended I hadn't seen anything, knocked and walked into the office. Victoria Montgomery smiled sweetly at me. "You actually came?" "Sorry about that. The meeting just now was really important. That's why I was a bit harsh with you." "It's fine. Just do your thing." Normally, seeing her crescent moon-shaped eyes would make me lose all resistance. No matter what we argued about, I would always be the first to surrender. Seeing that my attitude was off, Victoria Montgomery frowned and asked, "I've apologized to you. Aren't you being too petty? I doubt there's any man generous enough to allow his wife to have another man outside, is there?" I laid the matter bare, but she chose not to admit it. She stroked my cheek and asked, "Sincere, have you heard some gossip? You have to believe me, I'm devoted only to you." I wanted to laugh, feeling incredibly helpless. If I hadn't had solid evidence, I might have actually fallen for her string of lies. So I took out my phone, quietly opened the photos, and placed it on the desk. I calmly asked her, "Is there anything else you want to say now?" "I'm listening." The panicked expression I had expected didn't appear. Victoria Montgomery looked very composed. She glanced at the photos and explained, "Oh, I was planning to tell you in a few days. I didn't expect you to find out already." "Tell me what? Tell me you have another man outside and even have children with him?" 10 years, that scar is still there. I was willing to sacrifice everything for her, yet she seemed to think she hadn't done anything wrong. Victoria Montgomery continued, "I did all this for our future, so you're blaming me, is that right? For us?" I almost burst out laughing. and at the same time, I was stunned by her reply. I couldn't have imagined such an answer. Yes, his name is Julian Faker, the Asia-Pacific CEO of Sovereign Group. We met 7 years ago. At that time, to cooperate with Sovereign, I had to get past him. What's wrong with sacrificing personal matters for profit? If I hadn't signed the contract with Sovereign, the company probably would have collapsed long ago. Sovereign Group? I stared at Victoria Montgomery suspiciously. Just as I was about to speak, she forcefully interrupted. Anyway, since I couldn't have children, I agreed to spend a night with him. Maybe he was sent by fate to favor me. I actually got pregnant with a pair of twins. I saw Victoria Montgomery's look of surprise, but my heart was bleeding. I couldn't fathom how she could tell me such a thing so casually. The boy is named Leo and the girl is named Lucy. They're really well behaved and sensible. In the future, I'll change their surname to Montgomery, and then they'll be our children. That word "our" sounded so ridiculous. You had a man outside, had children with him, and now you want me to raise them, is that right? I didn't know if my understanding was correct. But didn't everything she said mean she wanted me to continue staying with her and raising the children? So, in your eyes, what exactly am I? Seeing my tone intensify, Victoria Montgomery began to patiently comfort me. Sincere, I know it's hard for you to accept right away, but it's okay. I can wait for you until you do. Ha ha. Do you think I will accept this? It was only at this moment that I realized how utterly pathetic my life had become. Everything I had done for her had turned into a joke. Perhaps she was fearless because of her confidence in my love. Forget it, let it be this way. I picked up my phone and replied indifferently, "No need, I'm not worthy." Victoria Montgomery suddenly became furious out of embarrassment. Are you done making a scene? Or do you think Juju can replace your position in my heart? Juju, what an intimate nickname. For 10 years I had poured so much effort into her family, into the company. It turned out she didn't see any of it. I nodded and smiled bitterly. Fine, whatever. Anyway, none of this has anything to do with me anymore. Let's get a divorce. Since we met, not once during an argument had I mentioned breaking up or divorce. I considered myself relatively rational and didn't want to joke about such things. This was the first time I had the thought of separating, and my heart felt like it was being tightly gripped. Maybe I had suddenly become very childish. I knew that if I could see even a hint of regret on Victoria Montgomery's face, she still loved me. But I didn't expect Victoria Montgomery to just stare blankly for 2 seconds, then sneer at me. Divorce? Don't be ridiculous. How would you survive without me? Back then, if my family hadn't agreed to let you be a live-in son-in-law, you'd probably still be sweeping the streets, wouldn't you? This was her go-to tactic whenever we argued. Using my status as a live-in son-in-law, she would demean my abilities in various ways. In the past, I would indeed feel inferior, but this time was different. Whatever. Even if I sweep the streets, it will have nothing to do with you. Sincere Miller Victoria Montgomery glared at me furiously, drawing glances from the employees outside the office. Within the company, apart from the R&D team I led, everyone else looked at me strangely. After all, the term live-in son-in-law was quite harsh, like a kept man who only relies on his wife. I had gotten used to it, thinking I should endure it for the sake of my wife. Now I knew that constant yielding only led to the other person escalating their behavior. She suddenly changed her attitude. Her eyes looking at me softened considerably. Sincere, I know it's hard for you to accept, but believe me, it will only be you and me in the future. There won't be any other man. I didn't know what her relationship with Julian Faker truly was. But I wasn't an idiot. Seeing their intimacy in the car downstairs, I should have known it was definitely not casual. The woman in front of me was practically gazing longingly at that man just moments ago. Their reluctance to part, their affectionate looks when he left, were they all just an act? I need to go home and cool down first. Just like that, I left under the employees' gloating eyes. Back home, I took out beer and sat on the balcony, trying to drown my sorrows. I don't know when I fell asleep. Dimly, I felt someone covering me with a blanket. When I woke up again, Victoria Montgomery was smiling at me. "You're awake? I usually see you abstain from alcohol, but this time you drank so much in one go. Here, I specially bought this hangover remedy for you." I was actually a little disoriented, as if the Vicky from 10 years ago had returned to my side. Seeing the apron she was wearing, I was surprised. I instinctively glanced towards the kitchen. Hearing movement from there, I realized she was actually making soup, and the scattered seasonings on the stovetop proved that she had indeed cooked it herself. For 10 years she had never cooked a meal herself. Because she had poor self-care skills, I had always been the one looking after her every need, taking meticulous care of her, cherishing her as my beloved. Just as I was hesitating, her phone suddenly rang. Seeing the caller ID, she answered with surprise. "Oh, you're already here? Wait a moment, I'll open the door right away." I suddenly had a bad feeling. Before I could ask, the doorbell rang. The man from the photos stood at the door, holding the hands of their 2 children. Seeing Victoria Montgomery, the twins immediately rushed forward, calling "Mommy, Mommy" non-stop. Their childish voices melted Victoria Montgomery's heart. She quickly took off her apron, scooped Lucy into her arms, and took Leo's hand. Julian Faker smiled gently. Mr. and Mrs. Faker were really sad to hear they were leaving. "Oh, what can we do? Maybe I should buy more gifts to take next time." "Aha, no need. They're quite understanding. Their conversation and actions. To anyone looking, they seemed like a loving couple." Meanwhile, I sat blankly on the balcony, more like an outsider. I couldn't believe Victoria Montgomery would openly bring them home. And bring them before me to introduce them. "Sincere, this is Julian Faker I told you about. This is Leo and this is Lucy." Victoria Montgomery motioned for the children to call me Daddy. She mainly wanted me to get used to it, to slowly accept them. Unexpectedly, the boy said with a face full of resistance, "No way, he's not Daddy. He's the big bad guy who stole Mommy after speaking. He kicked me, although it didn't hurt, it made me extremely embarrassed." The girl started crying loudly with a wah sound. "Mommy, don't you love us anymore?" For the first time, I saw helplessness on Victoria Montgomery's face. She crouched down and explained to the twins, "No, how could you think that? Mommy loves you the most. Then why do you want us to call him Daddy?" I don't want to. Perhaps Victoria Montgomery had reserved all her tenderness for these 2 children. Unable to bear their crying and fussing, she yelled at me, "Can't you see the children don't like you? Get out quickly, you're not welcome here." At first, I thought I had misheard. This was my home too, and the woman in front of me was telling me to leave, and for the sake of 2 children who were unrelated to me. Seeing Victoria Montgomery side with them, the twins looked at me even more shamelessly. It was as if they saw me as the third party destroying their parents' relationship. They started yelling, demanding that I be kicked out of the house. They even said I was never allowed to come back in. I stared blankly at Victoria Montgomery, wanting to know if she was serious about what she just said. She frowned and looked at me with displeasure. "What are you standing there for? Get out of here quickly," I understood. It seemed she genuinely wanted me out of this house. But when I looked at Julian Faker standing nearby and saw the smug smile on his face, a burning anger of resentment surged through my chest. 10 years of dedication and sacrifice couldn't compare to the 2 children brought by the man from outside. Was my life really so tragic? The words on the tip of my tongue were swallowed back down. I nodded helplessly and replied, "Okay, I'll go," because I knew saying anything more would be meaningless. I might as well just leave. Just as I stood up, the boy kicked me again. Then he put his hands on his hips and laughed at me. The girl cheered, "Yay, the bad guy is defeated. We won. Mommy and Daddy will never be apart." Victoria Montgomery ignored me, not even sparing me another glance. She patted the children's little heads and said with a smile, "That's right, the bad guy lost, and justice prevails." As I reached the door, I could still hear Victoria Montgomery and Julian Faker's conversation. "Quick, clean up a bit. I made soup for you and the children. Try it and see how it tastes. Anything you make by hand is a delicacy. Bitch, don't be so sappy. Even if it doesn't taste good, you'll have to bear with it. From now on, you're my personal taster." I quietly closed the door and left the villa I had bought with my savings. It no longer belonged to me. I had to find a random hotel to stay for the night and go to work as usual the next day. I saw many employees pointing at me and looking at me strangely. It wasn't until I got to the office that I realized it no longer belonged to me. My belongings had been moved out, and only 2 potted plants remained. "You're here just in time. I have something to tell you." Victoria Montgomery's voice sounded behind me. She called me into the office and said indifferently, "From now on, this office belongs to Julian Faker." "What about me?" I asked, frowning. "Originally, I wanted to transfer you to another department, but Heron couldn't bear to. He wants you to stay by his side as an assistant." Correction, Heron is Julian Faker. "Originally, I wanted to transfer you to another department, but Juju couldn't bear to. He wants you to stay by his side as an assistant." Upon learning I was to be that man's assistant, the pent-up anger inside me finally erupted. Why should I? What is he even? Does he think he's worthy of me being his assistant? I had never lost my temper so much before, at least never in front of her, showing this kind of behavior. It made her feel like she didn't know me, causing her to question me. "Sincere Miller, have you lost your mind? How dare you question Juju? All right, you say he's the Asia Pacific CEO of Sovereign Group. Then what is he doing at our company? Or do you think he's condescending to come here to help you achieve your dream of being a Fortune 500 company? This had once been our biggest dream together. We motivated each other, never stopping. Victoria Montgomery, however, turned it back on me. Isn't that right? You can learn a lot by being his assistant. You should feel honored." "Learn what?" "How to scam people." The Asia Pacific CEO of Sovereign Group was indeed named Alan Young, that was correct. And I knew him. He was my former junior high classmate. We grew up together and had a good relationship. Yet the woman in front of me was so naive that she thought she could secure the cooperation just by sleeping with him. Moreover, the person she slept with wasn't the Alan Young I knew at all. Please don't be so biased against Juju. When you get to know him, you'll find he has a lot of charm. It seems you've been completely deceived. He's actually... Before I could finish, there was a knock on the office door. Julian Faker came in and smiled at Victoria Montgomery. "Vicky, I don't like to force people. Since Sincere doesn't like it, forget it. Are we close?" I really disliked him calling me that. It made me feel uncomfortable all over. "How dare you talk to Juju like that?" Apologize immediately, seeing Victoria Montgomery acting as if she were possessed. I sighed lightly and replied, "Forget it. Just transfer me to any department. How about the security department?" Just as I was about to leave, I heard Julian Faker ask me with a seemingly playful smile. Then he joked, "Haha, sorry, I'm just kidding, don't take it seriously." Victoria Montgomery, however, took him seriously. "The security department is fine too. Maybe that will make him realize his mistake." "That's right. It'll be good training. Don't always think you're so important." Julian Faker stopped pretending and started being sarcastic. My choice was simple. I asked Victoria Montgomery, "Are you sure you want to transfer me to the security department for his sake? Do you still not think you've made a mistake?" "All right, suppose I'm mistaken. I quit." There was no way I would be Julian Faker's assistant, and being a security guard was even more absurd. If word got out, wouldn't I become the biggest joke in the investment world? So I turned around and walked out confidently in front of Victoria Montgomery. From that moment on, I had no more ties to her. I also called the real Alan Young. I told him I had left Dragon Rise. The real Alan Young seemed quite calm when he heard I had left Dragon Rise. He told me he had guessed all along that Victoria Montgomery and I weren't meant to be together. I had heard these words from him years ago when I went to Sovereign Group to visit him. At the time, I didn't pay much attention to it, even thinking he was jealous of my good wife. Thinking back now, I was too naive. After all, he was an experienced ladies' man, frequenting the social scene. He truly had a clearer understanding of people than I did. He didn't say much, just asked me 5 words. "Were you wronged?" I smiled bitterly. "No, I just feel like it wasn't worth it." There are plenty of fish in the sea, no need to fixate on one person. Next time you're in Singapore, I'll treat you to good food and drinks. All right, it's a promise. All these years, Alan Young had never given up on trying to recruit me to his company. Although his invitations were always subtle, I could sense them, so my response to him was always a polite refusal. I didn't want to let down Victoria Montgomery's expectations of me. Thinking about it now, it had all become a fleeting memory. In the evening, I called Victoria Montgomery, planning to discuss coming home to pack my luggage. Unexpectedly, the imposter Julian Faker answered the phone. "Sincere, are you looking for Vicky? Where is she? She's cooking. You can tell me if there's anything." Finding out Victoria Montgomery was actually cooking made my heart even more bitter. In the past, I had fantasized many times about eating food cooked by Vicky. Even just a simple bowl of instant noodles would have touched me to tears, right? Unfortunately, I waited for 10 years. What I waited for wasn't instant noodles, but her betrayal. Ask her to find some time. I'll come back to pack my things. Now is fine. Vicky has already packed your things for you. You can come over and have a meal before you go. Vicky has already packed your things for you.
Why don't you come over for a meal before you go?
No need for dinner. I'll just grab my things and leave. I didn't expect Victoria Montgomery to act so quickly. But none of it mattered anymore. I just wanted to get my things and say goodbye to this city as soon as possible. When I arrived, I habitually took out my key to open the door, only to walk into the living room and find the two of them intertwined on the sofa, their clothes disheveled, consumed by passion. There was a faint blush on Victoria Montgomery's cheeks. She looked soft and yielding, a sight I had never seen before. Seeing me return, she was startled and quickly scrambled off the sofa, questioning me. "Sincere Miller, why didn't you give us a heads up before coming back?" I looked at Julian Faker, who was lowering his head and buttoning his shirt. It dawned on me. This was all prearranged by him. What was his purpose? Was it just to disgust me? The old me might have been so angry I would have fainted on the spot. But now I had let go long ago and felt calmer than I expected. "Sorry for interrupting your good time. I'll just get my luggage and leave." Victoria Montgomery quickly dressed and urgently explained to me, "Sincere, I told you the reason for everything. You'll understand me, right?" I grinned. "Of course. I wish you a lifetime of happiness together, forever hand in hand." Victoria Montgomery thought I was still sulking and glared at me coyly. "How long are you going to keep this up? Both Juju and I have our hardships. Can't you just calm down? So, only you two are allowed to have hardships and I just have to bottle everything up?" After letting go, I realized how utterly shocking Victoria Montgomery's worldview was. First, she used manipulative tactics, then she betrayed me. And now she could turn around and act like I was the one being unreasonable? I really had nothing left to say to her. I asked Julian Faker, "Since your goal has been achieved, give me my luggage." Victoria Montgomery looked at Julian Faker suspiciously. "What goal? What luggage?" Julian Faker explained. "Sincere called asking to pack his luggage, so I advised him to come talk to you again. I didn't expect him to curse at me over the phone and even threaten to kill me. Now I truly understood what it meant to make things up as you go along. The ridiculous thing was, Victoria Montgomery believed him unconditionally. She thought I had gone too far in this matter and shouldn't have threatened Julian Faker. "I don't want to play house with you anymore. Once I pack my luggage, I'm leaving." Victoria Montgomery pointed towards the bedroom. "Fine, go pack. If you dare to leave with that luggage, I'll consider you dead to me." Without hesitation, I took out my suitcase. I packed everything I needed and left behind everything useless. Before leaving, I reminded her, "As for our shared belongings, please dispose of them for me. I'm in a hurry." The real Alan Young had booked my flight to Singapore. Boarding would start in less than 3 hours. Are you really abandoning this? Even at this point, Victoria Montgomery could act so confident and fearless. So I admit I had indeed spoiled her for the past 10 years. But I could also cut off this relationship at any time. I left without looking back, leaving her staring, stunned. The imposter Julian Faker seized the moment to comfort her. "Don't worry, Vicky. He'll understand eventually. After leaving the villa, the first thing I did was delete every memory I had with Victoria Montgomery, including her contact information, social media accounts, and call history. Then I got a new phone number, deciding to start over. 3 days later, Victoria Montgomery was frustrated and angry because I hadn't come to find her. She called my number and found it was turned off. When she sent messages, she saw she was blocked on all social media. Gradually, she finally sensed that something was wrong. Thinking about where to find me, her thoughts were interrupted by her assistant, Sarah Davis, knocking on the door. "Miss Montgomery, someone from Sovereign Group is here and says they want to see you." Victoria Montgomery's beautiful eyes widened. She asked curiously, "Sovereign Group? Looking for me? Did they say why they're here?" Sarah Davis shook her head. "No, they just specifically asked to see you. What was their attitude, and how did they seem? They looked not very optimistic." Realizing something was amiss, Victoria Montgomery immediately called Julian Faker. She instructed him to come to her office. In her view, since the visitors were from Sovereign Group, no matter which region they were from, Julian Faker's former status would mean they had some connection. In the office, Victoria Montgomery invited the people from Sovereign Group to sit down. She motioned for Sarah Davis to make tea and sincerely asked, "May I know, sir, how should I address you?" The visitor was a middle-aged man in his early 50s, smartly dressed in a suit. Robert Baker, Executive Vice President of Sovereign Group, Asia Pacific. "Executive Vice President, Asia Pacific?" Victoria Montgomery took the business card and noticed it was not the same as Julian Faker's. However, she didn't think much of it and said warmly, "Ah, Mr. Baker, what a pleasure it is that you've taken the time out of your busy schedule to visit our company. Surely you're not here to recruit Julian Faker back, are you?" Robert Baker looked puzzled. "Mr. Young has always held the position of CEO within the company. Why would I recruit him back?" "Mr. Baker, you're truly humorous. Weren't you aware that Julian Faker already resigned?" Julian Faker opened the door and asked, "Vicky, why did you call me here in such a hurry? Is something wrong?" He saw Robert Baker but appeared very calm. So calm it was like he didn't know him at all. Victoria Montgomery, on the other hand, asked in surprise, "Juju, don't you know who this is? And this is?" Julian Faker carefully observed Robert Baker. "He's the Executive Vice President of Sovereign Group, Asia Pacific. How could you not know him? Perhaps Mr. Baker was recently appointed." Robert Baker looked Julian Faker up and down, his eyes full of disdain, and Julian Faker's face gradually turned contorted. "Ms. Montgomery, I'm here today to terminate all business relations with your esteemed company." "Terminate? Why?" "Just because Juju left Sovereign. Dragon Rise's biggest turning point had been its cooperation with Sovereign Group. It had transformed the company, increasing its market value more than tenfold. Sovereign Group was still their largest partner. There was no way they would just break it off. So Victoria Montgomery became agitated and pressed further. "If there's anything you're dissatisfied with regarding us, please tell us." Robert Baker smiled and waved his hand. "It's not a problem with the cooperation itself." "Then what is it because of?" As the two spoke, cold sweat was already beading on Julian Faker's forehead. He suddenly mustered his courage and cursed, "Almost fell for your trick, you imposter, Vicky. He's fake. He's not the Asia Pacific Vice President of Sovereign Group at all." Victoria Montgomery felt the same way. Otherwise, how could they not know each other when they were supposed to be superior and subordinate? Moreover, the cooperation between Sovereign and Dragon Rise had always been stable. It couldn't just be cut off like that. "I haven't even said anything about you yet, and you're already making false accusations." Robert Baker took a slow sip of his tea. Then he took out a contract, handed it to Victoria Montgomery, and said, "This is Mr. Young's decision. He also asked me to relay a message to you." "What message?" "He said that cooperating with you is too risky, and you have very poor judgment in people." Victoria Montgomery sneered. "Are you done pretending? If you don't leave now, don't blame me for calling the police and reporting you for fraud. Ms. Montgomery, you don't actually believe he's our Asia-Pacific CEO, do you? Robert Baker opened his phone and pulled up a photo of the real Alan Young. If you don't trust me, photos and news won't lie. Besides the photo of the real Alan Young, there was also an official interview with him as the Sovereign Group Asia-Pacific CEO by legitimate media outlets. Whether it was the employee photo or the photo from the interview, they were enough to confirm that the Julian faker standing beside her was indeed fake. Vicky, the imposter Julian faker still wanted to explain, but Victoria Montgomery didn't give him a chance. She started muttering to herself, "Impossible. Could there be a mistake somewhere?" She had also investigated Julian faker online back then and believed what she found. Could the information have been faked beforehand? How could Victoria Montgomery accept this cruel reality? From the first time she slept with him, to getting pregnant, and now the third child. All her actions were aimed at solidifying the cooperation with Sovereign Group, because she believed Julian Faker was the Prince Charming of the Asia-Pacific region. Even if he had left to come to Dragon Rise, she thought it was a gain. She suddenly glared fiercely at the imposter Julian Faker, her eyes looking like they wanted to devour him. Who exactly are you? He's just social garbage who goes around scamming people. Because he's incorrigible, he's been brought into the police station 3 or 4 times and even served 2 years in prison. Robert Baker's explanation nearly made Victoria Montgomery collapse. Not only was he an imposter, but he was also a repeat offender. I was actually tricked by such a worthless person for 6 whole years? Victoria Montgomery asked uncertainly. No, wait. Why were you willing to cooperate the moment I met him back then? Well, that brings us back to Miss Montgomery's judgment. You clearly had a capable person right beside you and let him go. Who? Mr. Miller. The only high-ranking executive named Miller in the company was me. However, Victoria Montgomery refused to believe that the person who secured the Sovereign Group Asia-Pacific business was me. She had always believed she achieved it through her own efforts and sacrifices, and using this success, she had completely stepped on me and looked down on me, calling me useless, saying I was worthless, and using various manipulative tactics. Are you talking about Sincere Miller? Victoria Montgomery asked, still in disbelief. Seeing Robert Baker nod, the last thread of hope snapped. She didn't throw a fit or kick people out, but stared blankly ahead. She couldn't bear to think what she had done these past few days. Then she frantically pulled out her phone to call me, desperate to know the truth. But my number wouldn't go through, so she used a different phone and dialed again. This time it connected, and she was extremely agitated. Just as she was about to speak, an unfamiliar male voice answered. May I ask who this is? Victoria Montgomery immediately asked, Where's Sincere? Where is Sincere Miller? Could you please let him take the call? Just tell him I'm Vicky, and I have something important to say to him in person. The voice on the other end replied, Sorry, this is a new number I just got today. I don't know anyone named Sincere Miller. That's impossible, Before Victoria Montgomery could finish, the call was hung up. She became utterly panicked. She couldn't fathom that she had given up a 10-year relationship for a scumbag, given up a man who could tolerate all her mistakes, who was always understanding and went along with everything she did, who was even willing to bear all the negative labels outside for her sake. Robert Baker smiled nonchalantly. It seems Miss Montgomery is also a victim. Well, that explains it. However, what's done is done. There's nothing to salvage now. Please take care of yourself in the future. Victoria Montgomery had no reaction until Robert Baker stood up and left the office. Vicky, you can't be so willful. You need to think more about our children. They are innocent. Julian Faker tried to use the children as a shield. This was the retreat he had planned all along, thinking he could gain forgiveness. Victoria Montgomery suddenly had red eyes and a distorted face as she lunged at his neck, continuously shouting, Give Sincere back to me, or I'll choke you to death as promised. I arrived in Singapore, where the real Alan Young was. As soon as I exited the gate, I saw him personally there to greet me. He then arranged for me to stay at the best 5-star hotel. During the ride, he smiled and asked if I was interested in Sovereign Group. This was one of countless invitations he had extended over the years. He was prepared for me to refuse again, but I hesitated for a moment. I told him I wanted to rest for a while first. Without a word, he readily agreed and offered to take leave to personally be my tour guide. A week passed in the blink of an eye, and I was touched by Alan Young's sincerity. Ultimately, I decided to join Sovereign Group. Meanwhile, back in the States, Victoria Montgomery was desperately searching for information about my whereabouts. She would return home and do nothing but stare at her phone. The imposter Julian Faker was sent to the police station and held there by her. The 2 children cried and fussed because they couldn't see their father, and Victoria Montgomery pretended not to hear them. When she finally got frustrated, she would yell at them. The children cried even harder, and she would then send them to her parents' place to be looked after. After all, seeing them made her regret everything she had done. The day before the trial, she firmly decided to have the baby in her belly aborted. She didn't want to be heavily pregnant if she ever saw me again. She also spent a large sum of money to hire the best lawyer. She successfully secured a 20-year prison sentence for the imposter Julian Faker under multiple charges. 2 years passed quickly, and under her leadership, Dragon Rise entered an irreversible decline. When the market value of billions was decimated back to its original state, she finally realized that the company's true backbone all these years had been me. But my focus was no longer on that. She wanted to see me, to admit her mistakes. It wasn't until some time later that someone told her they thought they had seen me at Sovereign Group in Singapore. Without a second thought, she immediately bought a ticket for the same day and flew to find me. Even if it wasn't true, even if the hope was dashed, she didn't want to miss any opportunity. Finally, she found me in the lounge area of Sovereign Group. She looked much more haggard compared to 2 years ago. Ignoring everyone else, she immediately rushed towards me, wanting to jump into my embrace as she used to. I stepped aside, frowned, and asked, "What do you want?" "Sincere, it's me. I'm Vicky." Victoria Montgomery had never expected me to reject her, thinking we could go back to the way things were. "I've been looking for you for 2 years. Are you still not going to forgive me?" Just then, another female voice echoed in the lounge. "Sincere, who is this?" The owner of the voice was beautiful, and her professional attire showcased her figure perfectly. She was dignified, elegant, and possessed outstanding temperament. Victoria Montgomery couldn't help but feel a sense of inferiority when she saw her. "Who are you?" The woman replied without hesitation. "I'm his partner." This word partner made Victoria Montgomery feel incredibly incredulous. With red-rimmed eyes, she asked disbelievingly, "That's not true. Tell me this isn't real, right?" I hadn't realized my secretary was so perceptive, so I naturally put my arm around her waist. "From the day I left 2 years ago, there has been nothing between us anymore." Just as I was about to leave, Victoria Montgomery suddenly knelt before me in front of many people. She even hugged my leg, pleading desperately for me not to go. Seeing this behavior, I only felt disgusted. Shaking her off, I lowered my voice. "If you dare make a scene again, don't blame me for calling security to escort you out knowing my mind was made up," Victoria Montgomery cried all night. Finally, she quietly left Singapore. After returning, she sold the company at a heavily discounted price and donated all the money. Unhesitatingly, she chose to commit suicide at the place where we first met and fell in love. By the time I learned of this, it was already 2 years later. My secretary back then had become my true partner, and I had undergone surgery to regain my fertility, having our first child with her. As for the past, let it fade away with the wind.